Hello everyone. So I'm Rohit Chawla and I'll be presenting a report on localized content-based image retrieval using evidence confidence. Uh, this presentation presents is a part of a report that has been developed on the same topic, and this is being done for the course submission of pattern recognition. So what is localized content-based image retrieval using evidence confidence? For that, we will get to know after reading about these things. Introduction is about what is CBIR, why image retrieval classification based on regions is hard, how images are presented, and what are the current methods that is used to classify these images. So first of all, let me say about the methods that have already been existing in order to retrieve the images from a large pool of database. One of them is MILES, that is multiple instance embedded instance selection. Another one is DDSVM, that is called as diverse density support vector machine. So these two methods have already been existing in the market and have been widely used for image retrieval. The proposed method by the authors and which I have presented in my report is the ECSVM, that is the evidence confidence of this for the support using the support vector machines. So at the end of this presentation, I'll be discussing about the performance evaluation and the conclusion about this topic. I will represent how the new proposed method ECSVM presents better results based on the two datasets used, and the two datasets names are SIVAL and the Coral datasets. These datasets have been the previous methods like the MILES and the DDSVM have been compared with ECSVM on these datasets, and the performance evaluation results have been calculated. So to our first question, what is CBIR? Basically, CBIR means content-based image retrieval, and in the existing system machines, it can be retrieved on the basis of features like color, texture, shape. The user needs to specify a region in the query region to classify images from a pool of images. In previous methods like QBIC, that is a query-based image retrieval classifier, the user had to specify the regions to classify images. In CBIR, that is the current method for the content-based image retrieval, a search analyzes the content on the image rather than the metadata. By metadata, we mean the external information that is present tagged around to the image. So the CBIR has two major classes. One of them is global method and the other one is localized method. In this report and presentation, we will be more focused towards the localized method. The global method exploits the features that represents the global view of an image, such as color, features, figures, to compute similarity. And it's easy to be identified, like in an image. If you think if a background is similar for several images, it is easy to identify that image from a pool of images. In localized CBI method, the user is only concerned about two portions of the image, and the rest is considered as irrelevant. This makes classification of image more natural and in line with the requirements of the user, and suitable to the human perception. So I'll explain this with an example. Let's say you want to classify all the images which contain an apple or a ball. So when you search for an image by putting in the query that you want to find all the images with an apple, so it's a small region on which you are focusing on, and that region needs to be searched in the pool of images. So that is more relevant to what we want, as the background searching with the background is a very common thing and it can be done easily, whereas the new method searching based on a particular region makes it more natural and in line with the requirement. MIL. What is MIL? MIL is multiple instance learning. In this, each bag corresponds to a single image and may contain multiple instances. Every instance maps to a description of some sub-region of the image. Using these collection of label tags, the learner tries to induce a concept that will label unseen bags correctly. Single instances learning. This has been used to defer the traditional supervised learning paradigm, in which a single examples has a class label. Moving away from the traditional methods that we have discussed before, I will demonstrate how a system can automatically learn the interest of the user by using relevance feedback, or by inputting a query image, a set of labeled as positive as positive and negative as per the images that contain the target regions of the interest. Images are viewed as bags, each of which contains number of instance mapping to regions obtained from image segmentation. The MIL, that is the multiple instance learning, assumes that each bag is labeled as positive, or if at least one instance is positive, otherwise it is negative. The DDSVM, that is the diverse density support vector machine, labels a bag is based on some number of instances satisfying the number of properties. Multiple instance embedded instance selection, that is the MILS, also converts the MIL into a single instance learning. In MILS, the bags are represented with a high dimensionality, that is to many irrelevant features. Classifiers that uses features depictions in MILS are limited to as compared to those which can perform both feature selection and classification concurrently. This is the reason to design an efficient feature representation scheme to represent bags in multiple instance learning. As we have seen that the previously defined methods DDSVM and MILS have several ways of defining the bag based on features rather than defining it on base of instances. So the existing CBIR techniques are query technique, semantic retrieval, and iterative and machine learning. Our focus for this report is basically on the iterative and machine learning. Query techniques, the query that involves by providing a query to the CBIR system that will base its search upon. It's like in the previous example that I told, that if you have to take an ample as a searching region and the algorithm will search accordingly. Underlying search algorithms may differ, but the type of application will remain the same. In semantic retrieval, we make use of low-level features like texture, shape, color that is used in a combination with interface, allow easier input of the criteria, or with trained database. The iterative or machine learning, this is the important one, and the making the CBI system ability to depend on the user understand the user intent. So what is ECSVM? Proposed method. So this is the proposed method by the author that I am presenting, and in this report it is an ECSVM is defined as an evidence region identification method to identify the evidence region that supports the label of the images. Computationally efficient, robust to labeling noise is proposed to describe the bags based on identified evidence regions. Evidence instances only exist in positive bags, and each positive bag contains at least one evidence instance. Hence, we just need to compute the EC values for all the instances from the positive bags and then select all those instances with the largest EC values from each positive bag to be our evidence instance. So, if you see, this kind of reduces our work, what we're trying to achieve. So, what is the main difference between ECSVM and the DDSVM? So, the main difference between EC and DD can be easily seen from the EC values, which is defined only for the observed instances, can be directly computed from the training data set, whereas in DDSVM, the DD tries to maximize an object function, that is search for a target point, which is a continuous space with infinitely many members. So these two flowchart depicts the main difference between EC and DD. The one on the left hand side, that it takes a training data, it involves the direct computation on the positive bags, and hence it outcomes the EC values. Whereas in DDSVM, the lower graph, it takes a training data, it optimizes a procedure, optimization of the procedure, that is the image dataset that we have presented before. It tries to maximize an objective function to search for the target point. So this is the optimization procedure, and for further computation on the positive or the negative instances, it presents the outcome. So the advantages of ECSVM and the proposed method is that the value of each observed instance is directly computed from the training dataset. Therefore, our method essentially has no parameters to tune, making it several orders of magnitude faster than DDSVM. As like we have seen before, the DDSVM, we need to optimize it before in order to calculate the values. In the proposed method, the evidence instance identification method constraints the scope of the search scope of identifying instances to be within a bag is also very robust towards labeling noises. So what is the performance evaluations for this experiment? The experiment of ECSVM is based on two publicly available datasets, the SIVAL, that is a spatially independent variable area and lightning image set, and the coral image set. All the three methods have been evaluated on these two datasets, and the results show that how ECSVM outcomes based on as compared to both the methods. So the evaluation of SIVAL dataset. In this dataset, I have used the project. This dataset has been used in the project, and this dataset comprises of 1500 images in 25 different categories and contains 60 images for each category. I selected 8 positive and 8 negative images from the full set of 1500 images, and the rest 1484 images have been used to form the test set. In this experiment, I am showing the result on the basis of 30 rounds of independent sets. In order to get the best performance for the following experiment, the two values of the C and the Gaussian kernel has been set as 1 and 2 raised to the minus 4 respectively for SVM. Testing of several values, these two values gave the best outcome, so has been set accordingly. The average AUC, that is the area under the ROC curve, the value with the 95% confidence interval for 25 categories, this is about the outcome as compared to the both of the existing methods. These results, when compared with previously existing methods, the proposed EC method shows the highest results and achieves the best performances. Now the evaluation on the Coral dataset. Similarly, on Coral dataset, the results have been average of the average AUC values in percent for all 20 categories with 95% confidence levels over 50 rounds of test. The graph depicts how by the red line it shows the ECSVM, and by the green line it shows the miles. So as we can see, the comparison between the Coral dataset with one positive and one negative example, we can easily see that how the average confidence interval is, there's a wide difference between these two, and once again the ECSVM machine achieves better result than the miles. Sensitivity to labeling noise. The experiments have been performed by comparing ECSVM with the DDSVM and the miles as well. The DDSVM and the miles are the two existing methods with varying noise labels. These have been classified on different categories, like the historical building and the horse has been taken as an example. Taking randomly 5 generated random sets for test, the classification is shown as the following. The DDSVM current declines as we move forward in the noise level. As we increase the noise labeling level in the dataset, the DDSVM declines rapidly. Along with that, the miles, it also has a decline graph, whereas the ECSVM, it has an inclined graph as compared to both DDSVM and the miles. This dataset is basically an image that shows how ECM proves to be better than miles in SIVAL dataset. Previously we discussed how ECSVM is better than miles in Coral dataset. So what is the main difference between these two datasets that we have used? The SIVAL dataset differs from the Coral dataset in many aspects. In Coral dataset, the target object occupies a large portion of the whole image, while in SIVAL, the main part of the image is in the background. Furthermore, the background of some category in Coral dataset is always specific to that image, to that category of images. Computational cost refers to the time taken to train the classifiers on several categories. For SIBEL, it refers to the training of 25 classifiers for 25 categories.